Why you wouldn't survive a week in Nazi Germany. Let's not sugarcoat it. Surviving Nazi Germany was like walking a tightrope over a pit of crocodiles. One wrong look, one wrong word, and you weren't going home. You were going somewhere much, much worse. Surviving Nazi Germany would mean never speaking, never going out, and spoiler alert, you probably still wouldn't survive. Let's see how far you get. Number 7. You step off the train, adjust your jacket, and hey, look, a park! You wander toward it because you're a normal human who likes grass and sunlight. Big mistake. See, in Nazi Germany, there were strict no-walk zones, especially around military buildings, government offices, or anywhere remotely important. Some of these areas were so secretive they didn't even bother putting up keep off signs, because the sign was armed guards with itchy trigger fingers. Step 1 foot onto the wrong patch of grass and you could get shot on sight for suspicious behaviour. And it's not like you could argue, oh sorry officer, I'm just admiring the landscaping. No, in Nazi Germany, wandering aimlessly was literally a suspicious crime. Vagrancy laws meant you could be arrested or shot for looking like you didn't have a destination. The Nazis called it Schutzhaft, protective custody, which is a nice way of saying we can lock you up or kill you with no reason. Fun fact, by 1935 over 50,000 people had already been thrown in concentration camps under Schutzhaft, not because they committed a crime, but because they might. So yeah, one innocent stroll to smell the flowers could get you gunned down by a 19-year-old SS recruit who failed gym class but worshipped Hitler. You wouldn't survive day 1 because you liked parks. Number 6. It's the next day. You wake up and think, okay, just act normal. Don't make eye contact, don't say anything stupid. Except normal in Nazi Germany is aggressively not normal. You need papers to exist, papers to walk, and probably papers to breathe. If you don't have an official government ID, with your ancestry verified on it by the way, boom, suspicious. Now, assuming you do have your documents, congratulations, you're only 90% doomed. You head outside. The streets are covered in Nazi flags. Kids are marching in Hitler Youth uniforms. Posters are screaming propaganda. There's even a Heil Hitler quota. Yes, if you don't greet people with the Nazi salute, you could get reported faster than a bad Uber driver. You see your neighbour, Franz. He throws up a stiff salute and shouts Heil Hitler. You awkwardly nod. Mistake. Franz narks on you before you even finish your coffee, but lucky you, it's just a warning this time. You survive day 1, barely, but the noose is already tightening. Number 5. Next up, health. Germany loved their racial purity, but medical care, not so much unless you were rich, Aryan, and ideally related to Hitler's barber. Hospitals were overcrowded, supplies were drained for soldiers, civilian healthcare would kill you before any disease ever could. Catch anything, tuberculosis, diphtheria, typhus, and you're basically on your own. Typhus, by the way, loved Nazi Germany. Between overcrowded ghettos, lack of hygiene, and everyone living like it's the 1400s, lice spread it like wildfire. Entire neighbourhoods got sick. If you got typhus, too bad. If you weren't worth saving, they'd quietly ship you off to a euthanasia centre under the T4 programme, a fun little policy where undesirables got mercy deaths, whether they asked for it or not. Congratulations, you just died of a flea bite and fascism. And let's say after day 2 you survived the lice, but now you're itching in more ways than one. Number 4. And assuming you do get food, well, spoiler, it's trying to kill you. Nazi rations were special. Meat was so rare it was practically a myth. Bread was made with wood pulp, yes, trees, and margarine was 90% mystery grease and 10% is this soap? And you don't think you'll just drink water. Water sources were contaminated thanks to bombings, industrial runoff, and, you know, the general vibe of war everywhere. Drink the wrong glass of water, hello dysentery, the classic diarrhea that killed millions throughout history. No Imodium, no urgent care, just you, your wooden bread, and the Grim Reaper speed walking towards you. Day 3, survived eating, but your stomach is staging a violent protest. Number 3. Nazi Germany believed everyone should pitch in for the war. You're a man? Cool. Here's a rifle made in 1938 and some boots that don't fit. Congrats, you're off to the Eastern Front, the actual definition of hell. Casualties were astronomical. You weren't expected to win. You were expected to slowly die in freezing weather with trench foot, gangrene and frostbite gnawing on your limbs like angry raccoons. Oh, you're a woman. Here's a shovel. Now go dig bomb shelters, dismantle unexploded bombs, or stand in a munitions factory inhaling enough lead dust to light up a Geiger counter. And the Air Force boys, they were being given meth daily, Pervitin pills, so they could stay awake for 72 hours straight. So sleep is now a fond memory for you. Whether drafted, bombed, or worked to death, your options are bad, worse, and let's just call it. Day 4 survived, but you now have a 10% chance of seeing winter. Number 2. So you've managed to survive food poisoning, disease and fascist bureaucracy. Too bad it's 1943 and the Allies are done being polite. Welcome to bombing season. Cities like Hamburg, Dresden and Berlin were flattened by air raids. No mercy. Bombs falling like bad Yelp reviews. Firestorms were so intense they created their own weather systems. Literal tornadoes of flame. And if you were lucky enough to survive the bombings, congrats, now you get to die slowly from phosphorus burns, asphyxiation, or being crushed under 15 tons of your neighbour's house. Fun fact, Germany didn't have enough bomb shelters. Most people sheltered in basements, and, well, basements aren't bomb-proof. Especially not 1940s German basements. And don't even think about running. The bombs created vacuum pockets strong enough to suck people off their feet. Day 5, you were alive, and then you weren't. Number 1. And let's say by some ridiculous miracle you survived typhus, food that could legally be classified as building material, and bombing. Now it's time for your final boss. German winter. See, energy was rationed. Coal, oil, firewood, all in short supply because the Nazis decided it was more important to fuel tanks than to keep civilians alive. If you weren't rich or high up in the Nazi food chain, you froze. Houses had no insulation. Windows were covered with newspaper and not glass. Heating your home meant burning random furniture, books, or if you were lucky, black market coal sold at 500% markup. Temperatures dropped below freezing routinely and people just didn't wake up. The winter in 1941-42, there were entire neighbourhoods where 20% of the population just disappeared. Not from bombs or guns, just from the cold. And don't think layering up would save you. Your clothes were made from recycled rags, not high-end Patagonia jackets. Oh, and if you did have a coat, better not wear it outside because looters would mug you for it in broad daylight. So yeah, congratulations, your final cause of death wasn't even dramatic. You just froze to death in your sleep, holding a piece of stale bread and dreaming of central heating. Day 6, frozen like a human popsicle, and no one's coming to unthaw you. So would you like to travel back in time to Nazi Germany and try to survive it? Drop it in the comments, and if you know someone who still thinks history's boring, send them this.